All right. So President Trump signed an executive order this week calling on states and cities to end endemic vagrancy. The order calls for, quote, shifting homeless individuals into long-term institutional settings for humane treatment through the appropriate use of civil commitment. Wow. This is exactly the kind of thing that could put Seattle out of business. And it notes the federal government and the states have spent tens of billions on failed programs that address homelessness, but not its root causes, leaving other citizens vulnerable to public safety threats. In other words, their license to punch kids in the face is getting revoked. Because for too long, we were told we must sympathize with the violent and deranged and not the people they prey upon. Call it suicidal empathy, where liberals' excessive compassion undermines our own self-preservation. It's true for every tourist pushed in front of a New York subway train. According to the White House, nearly 300,000 people were sleeping on the streets each night last year under President Joe Biden, while a few hundred were sleeping under Bill Clinton. But Trump talked about finally doing something about it during the 2024 campaign.
When I'm back in the White House, we will use every tool, lever, and authority to get the homeless off our streets. We want to take care of them, but they have to be off our streets. There is nothing compassionate about letting these individuals live in filth and squalor rather than getting them the help that they need. We need professionals to help them.
So now he's following through. Another promise made and kept. Of course, a lot of people will oppose this because he's the one doing it. Even though for decades politicians said they'd fix homelessness, but never had the guts to get it done. And so we were led to believe that this grim reality was simply inevitable. But Trump's focusing on returning a decent life to Americans, including the mentally ill. Once again, he says, you don't have to live like this. Of course, homeless advocacy groups will push back because suffering is a cash cow. There's a whole entire homeless industrial complex of NGOs that paid themselves fat salaries while making the problem worse. Remember when Bill de Blasio gave his wife $900 million taxpayer dollars to address these issues? And that cash disappeared faster than a plate of nachos at The View. Hell, if I gave my wife $800 million, at least our walls would be changed from eggshell white to cream. In California, an audit last year found that $24 billion was spent over 5 years without ever tracking its effect on homelessness. The cash vanished and the suffering continued. Really, they should run Gavin Newsom out of town on a rail, if they could only build a rail. Of course, the ACLU has already lashed out, saying it's targeting people. But it's not targeting anybody, it's protecting everyone. As the White House notes, the goal is to ensure that Americans feel safe in their own communities and that individuals suffering from addiction or mental health struggles get the help they need. In this case, libs should just stop with the destructive compassion and get the out of the way. Trump is doing the things they won't do because such actions threaten their status as the good liberal. They'd rather virtue signal on their own behalf than actually help others. But no one in their right mind sees a guy covered in living on a subway platform in 90-degree heat and says, you know, it's great, we're so compassionate. No, they say, someone better get Don Lemon back on his feet. Walter, you spend a lot of time outdoors. You almost have like that homeless tan that we see in the Lower East Side. Why is the left happy with the status quo and expect us to be happy with it? It's like we're supposed to just look at homelessness as part of the fabric of living in a city.
Well, because the only reason to vote for the left is guilt and sadness. And homeless people out on the street promote a feeling of guilt and sadness. This is going to be very confusing for young people. See, for me, who lived for a while when there weren't homeless all over the streets, it'll just be a return to normal.
Yes.
But young people are going to go, where did they go?
Yes.
These people I got used to, these people that were everywhere are suddenly gone. And what's going to happen is MSNBC is going to say Trump is killing them.
Right.
And they're going to be prey to every rumor. But the thing I've never understood about homelessness is we don't want them living outside.
Yeah.
But we can't put them inside. And those are the only two sides.
Yes.
I mean, we could do like a carport thing where there's a roof, but it's still outside. It just seems like a problem no one ever wanted to solve because they were making too much money off it.
That is a great point, though. I didn't think of that, Dagan. It's like, if this actually works, a lot of people have grown up with this problem. And what if it just goes away? They are going to think, did aliens come and take away our homeless?
No, because they don't even, it's not a problem for them because they don't see it. I do want to be serious about this.
Yeah.
So you said they don't even have a grasp of the problem. So we all who experience this know that a large portion of the homeless are seriously mentally ill. But advocacy groups will tell you they don't even know the percentage. It's anywhere from 20% to 76% of homeless are seriously mentally ill. Well, that's not narrow. So there are 274,000 homeless sleeping on the street.
And that's conservative.
Right. So on the very conservative side, if 20% are seriously mentally ill, that's almost 55,000 people. So you've always said, put the problem at the doorstep of these liberal snots and snobs, but you need to take the problem a little bit further in the kitchen, or a version of him, of every liberal who is in a position of power. This problem would be cleared up like that.
Yeah. Send them to, where did we send the homeless? We sent illegal immigrants, Martha's Vineyard. That would be nice. So, Emily, how hard is this going to be to pull off? So he has this EO. Are they going to do what they did with the illegal immigration, which all these local judges are they going to throw to gum up the works?
Yeah, throw just like the homeless do.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with this that I see, too, is how revealing all of this resistance is. Because what argument are they going to make, I'm curious, as they resist this? Calling that homeless population unhoused did nothing.
Right.
Throwing $24 billion at the problem in California did nothing. Seattle spends $1 million per homeless person per year, and it has done nothing. So now I'm curious, what are their arguments going to be? Oh, you're taking this soiled person off the street? Oh, you're taking this multi-rape victim who lives among 20 men without walls off the street? Oh, you're getting this person treatment and help? When you look at the homeless population and you see the sort of variable statistics, even at the lower end, they are so frightening with the amount of disease, with the amount of sexual assaults and rape, obviously the self-harm and the drug use and everything. And then what about the outward assaults? What about the infection that New York City has suffered in the subways? We haven't continued on the stories of the Thai model that was beaten, the young woman that was stabbed 60 times. There's not enough time in this show to describe the crime.
We have to move on, but a good point is that we often talk about the homeless being victims because we're all too scared to say that we are also victims. Right. Because then everybody goes, oh, you're so mean, these poor people. It's like, no, a lot of these... I've lived in New York for, 20 plus years. I know my homeless people in my neighborhood really well.
Same.
And a lot of them, they aren't crazy. They're just having a good time.
That's right.
But enough about those wacky people from Outnumbered.
If you enjoy this content, please consider subscribing to my channel to stay up to date with future videos. Thank you for watching.